Hey, everybody. Welcome to Watch What Happens Live 3, I guess. This is the Ask Me Anything. We have a lot of exciting stuff going on in the studio and at Anita. I know you've been following us on social, and you can see all the new things we're posting. Sorry if I sound a little congested. I have two toddlers, and they seem to be bringing me all their germs and goodness from school and from preschool. So it's exciting stuff. We do have quite a few questions that people already sent in before this broadcast, so we could cover those. And again, ask me any questions about embroidery or anything else that pops into your head. So we can start with our first question.
Ready to get started? All right. So first question is, hi, Steve. Will you please recommend your favorite embroidery machine and also the best commercial embroidery machine in your opinion?
Okay, well, that's a good question. I think all of the home embroidery machines are really good. So whether it's a Baby Lock or a Brother or Bernino or Janome, I always tell people that when you're buying a machine, it's about service. So I would buy from the best dealer in your area. So if your best dealer happens to be a Brother dealer, that's great. You can always look on Yelp and online. Why do I say that? Well, I could pick my favorite machine, but if there's not a dealer that lives near me that services that machine, well, getting that machine fixed and tuned up and maintained could be really problematic. So I think all the machines are really good right now. Like Bernina's got amazing machines. Obviously, we use primarily Baby Lock and Brother machines. But I always say buy with what's recommended to you. So if you sent me an email saying I live in this part of the country, we could always recommend dealers that are near you that we've worked with in the past that are top rated. As far as commercial goes, the same kind of applies. I've used Tajima machines pretty much exclusively for the last 20 years. And, they're based out of Japan. We happen to have the distributor in Charlotte. I didn't even know that for the first 10 years I was here. Our service guy comes out for those. So commercial machines are more expensive to service because you have to bring someone out. You're not going to just put in your car. They weigh, 500 or 600 pounds for the most part. But I love Tajima. There's other brands that are great. Same thing. Try to find someone in your territory that sells the machine. That way you can easily get a demo, stuff like that.
Great. Next question comes from Joanne, and she asked, I was wondering if Steve has considered creating edge-to-edge quilting designs, which are becoming more popular now for larger embroidery machines.
Are we considering edge-to-edge quilting designs? We are, and I believe it's on our list for first quarter to do some edge-to-edge quilts. Again, as the machines get bigger and their hoop sizes more or less get bigger, I'm always looking for ways to how can we maximize like your embroidery field, and the edge-to-edge quilts are a great way, and we are working on that.
Great.
Can I interrupt for a minute? Okay. Sorry.
And this is the fun of everything being live. So
Yep.
Let's see what we have going on next. Will the new website layout make it easier for customers to log in and get their designs?
That's a great question. I get frustrated by these things too. And our new website is being designed as we speak. It's like we're planning for a January 1st relaunch. What's that going to be? Well, it's going to be a completely new experience. I think, as I said in the first kind of session we did, that I've been spending a lot of time on our site, like reorganizing and changing keywords and searches. And, it's really complicated with technology as it changes. You have a website that was cutting edge 6 or 7 years ago that now becomes slowly harder to maintain because of glitches. Believe me, I wish it was simpler. It isn't, but we're behind the scenes now fixing it. And my number one priority is to make the customer center better. So you're going to see your wish list, designs you already own, all those things. I'm intending for it to be better, as well as logins. So It'll probably be a whole new process that'll be more current with the technology that you're familiar with every day. So that's a big yes.
We have someone in the chat asking a question about whether or not you would consider, or do you have plans of a several-day digitizing course here at the Anita headquarters for people that are either local or interested in coming to learn from you in person?
That is something we talked about. It was really difficult for the last few years. I mean, obviously, a lot of people here know us from events and traveling around the country and teaching. And during COVID, we couldn't. So that a lot of our focus went to just designing and giving you the best designs that we could possibly create. It's always been in the back of our minds, like, okay, how do we start this again? And I think now is the first time in the last few years that we can actually schedule something and not have some kind of mandate going to change that. So I think you'll see announcements, probably in the next few months for classes planned here. We have an amazing facility and classrooms. So we plan on doing embroidery centric classes here based kind of on our university series, as well as digitizing. So that's going to happen, probably first quarter as well.
Great. So Deborah has asked, it appears that All Access has gone digital. Is there plans of having a mail out printed version, or is it going to stay digital?
Well, the problem with like digital and printed, we started the idea for printing, I don't know, it's got to be 8 years ago, probably longer, 10 years ago. We started doing, special editions that were printed and actual booklets. Before that, really, when you bought a design set, whether it was from us or anybody, you got a CD or a hard card, and it was a PDF. And we were the first ones that really started doing printed instruction booklets. And then we did everything printed with All Access for a while. And that whole kind of model was based on our retail model. So we sold our product in hundreds of stores. The All Access book would be sent to them. They would have classes each month, and people would gather to pick up their monthly issue. And that was really the intention, because so much of we do is based on classes and community, and we would write curriculums for the stores, and that was the general process. Well, over the years, more and more stuff went digital. So not just us, but it's like books, and you have Kindles and iBooks, and I don't think I've bought a regular book to read. It's got to be 15 years. So as digital got more convenient for everybody, where it's easy to really open it up on your tablet, printing got more and more and more expensive. So the reason we stopped it, like I said, there's a reason. We create the content here, and that's our goal, is to create the designs and the instruction, and then how we deliver it kind of changes. It could be digital, it could be a book. Either way, for me, the content's the same. And what happened is, over the last 2 years with whatever, supply chain, recession, COVID, everything went up. The price of books, the price of paper, the price of shipping, delivery, the length of time it takes to get to a book. And we found that it really kind of hampers what we can do as designers, because we'd have to build in all this extra time and all this extra cost into delivering a book. So I think going forward, you're going to see printed books for certain things, and they'll be very limited. So I know the next signature series is coming out in January. You'll see that announcement soon. It's going to be amazing. That'll be in a printed hardcover book. It's a limited quantity, and when the book's gone, it's gone. It's very expensive to make books now, unfortunately, and I don't see that changing. So as of now, the club will be digital, and we'll have special projects throughout the year that they'll have a printed book.
Exactly. We wanted to touch on something that we have ongoing exclusive for this week. Can you tell us a little bit about the giveaway we have going on Facebook and Instagram?
So we obviously love social media. Right now we're on YouTube. This video will be on Facebook later, and we have posts every day and things like that. And I love giveaways. I don't know why. It's like I like getting things for free, and I like giving things for free. I even do that on the art side as well. In my studio, I give away, an art piece pretty much every month. And well, what do you have to do to get the free gift or to get the free download or to enter the contest is just basically follow us on Instagram, recommend a friend. Same with Facebook. It's like one of those things. I'm sure you've been invited to them before, but we're looking to always grow our, embroidery community. And you're the perfect people to help with that. So, suggest our page to other people. We want to expand what we give to you on social media and on YouTube. And the best way to do that would be for you to recommend it. So you recommend a friend, you follow or like the post, and you'll be entered into the contest.
Great. All right, let's get back to some questions. So Patricia has asked, what brand of wool thread can one use with a home embroidery machine? Which do you recommend?
It's certain things that people say when they say what brand of whatever, that like I immediately get like a headache because there's certain things that are just hard to do. So if you're used to stitching with polyester or like rayon thread, that's pretty simple. Well, then you do metallic thread and you're like, okay, this is a little bit more of a challenge. Is like a challenge times 10. Wool is very unforgiving. It's a thicker thread. We use Vermilana, which is a Madeira thread. I love it. That being said, designs kind of have to be designed for wool. It can't do the finite detail that you can with like a polyester rayon because it's much thicker. So when I'm using it like in an art piece, that design is specifically created for wool thread. So light density also. The wood is about wool is about twice as thick as a polyester thread. So you have to take your density down about 50% or even 60%. And that'll let the design run better. But it's definitely a challenge. If you've never used it, I suggest, purchasing a few spools and testing it. But you have to use lower density, light stitch designs, and you have to use the biggest needle that you can in order for that thread to pass through it. I should probably write a post on wool thread because
we'll do a blog on
I
it.
love the way it looks, but it's nerve-wracking sometimes, without a doubt.
Thank you so much for that question, Patricia. We will actually make a note to have Steve write a blog about it and plug it when the time comes when that goes live.
It's definitely like a love-hate relationship.
Seems like pain.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Do you have or do you use butterflies or what? Sorry, excuse me. Why do you use so many butterflies in your designs? Is it something that you have always really enjoyed, or is it something that has evolved over time for you?
That's, I've gotten this question probably the most at every art opening or when people visit the showroom here because they'll see butterflies everywhere. And they're like, oh, what is it? Do you have a thing for butterflies? Or people, I don't know if they're going to start giving me butterfly things for Christmas or something. I hope not, because I have enough right now. It kind of happened when I was creating a series called Shine the Light When It's Gray Out. So what that was, my daughter had just been born. She's a baby. And all this stuff is going on, the horrible, political things and school shootings. And it was just a nightmare. Like every time I turned on the news, I would be watching something depressing. Now, like I was, it was depressing before I had kids, but I'm sitting there with like a baby. It was like, okay, like you're picturing this stuff and you're like, how am I going to explain this stuff to a child? And it's kind of, it would maybe like a little depressed about, that part of it. And then I kind of came up with this series. I remember going to see like Hamilton in New York. I saw a couple like really uplifting documentaries and I'm like, okay, there is some, light here. So I wound up painting with oil paint with these really turbulent kind of backgrounds. And it was like black oil paint and dark colors and kind of, violent impasto kind of style of painting. And then on top of the paintings, I added all the butterflies. And that was like, the light in the darkness. And it kind of resonated with me then as like a new parent. And then it was almost hard to have a piece without butterflies. It became like a signature by accident. And now to me, it always, they represent so many things to so many people. Obviously, metamorphosis and the soul, and so many people have stories about how butterfly represents this or the other thing. So it's a very emotional, connected, and symbolic thing. Not that this question was, it got maybe deeper than we wanted it to, but that's kind of the reason. And at the end of the day, since they have so much symbolism, I love the way they look like they just landed on something, which they do. So it became part of the aesthetic of my work. Is like, okay, it looks like you did this beautiful painting, and then these butterflies kind of just landed on the painting, or landed on your wall or bookshelf. And that's like with the SIG series, I think volume 2, is you can make the same butterflies, and you just kind of plop them around your house, and people will notice, and they're artistic but not like overbearing, and they just became like my signature. But that's why. And I think they're transcendent. Like, people see butterflies and it just makes them happier. And to me, it's like, well, I'll take whatever happiness like you can get right now, with all the stuff that's always happening.
Exactly. And I think that people resonate with the fact that you've got such a strong tie to butterflies and that time in your life. And a lot of people are commenting how much butterflies mean to them in their life. And so I think that it's without a doubt, it's a weird thing. And there was something about like how when I made that first painting, and I can actually do a write-up about that, because like 2017 or so. And these are the shows I showed. That I showed this show everywhere, kind of around the world. And it was like really weird, because I was in like Bulgaria, and they had the butterfly things there, and like it was like kind of globally transcendent and symbolic. Absolutely. And the stories I heard from people about like that so a loved one passed away, and like a butterfly landed when they're at the what do you call it, cemetery or ceremony, and it was like, wow, like, I don't know, is there something to it? Like, I don't know, but it definitely resonates with people. And and it's just like, whenever I try to get away from doing a butterfly piece, it seems to like pull me back in. And it's like, wouldn't this look better with a butterfly on it? And the answer, like, usually is yes. The answer is absolutely yes. And you guys can see that in our background with all the amazing art.
There's definitely some back there. Is the camera following me? Yeah, you'll see the butterflies here, and they're back in here, and there. And here's the Eiffel Tower. Put a butterfly on that. So this is getting ready for a show somewhere, but you can see how relevant they are. And no matter what color they're in, they always look good.
Absolutely. All right. So we had a really fun question from Dorothy next. She asked, where did the name Anita Goodesign come from?
All right. So that's a good one too. I used to tell us at all my shows. So my grandmother was named Anita, and she was an immigrant from Italy. And when she came over here, as a child, and I don't know, whatever, 1920s or the way back, she's been gone for like a while now. Well, she came over as a seamstress. So she worked in the garment district in New York, sewing dresses. So when I was a kid, we'd visit my grandmother, and she had like the old school, treadle machine where you just like rock your feet back and forth and sew. And I thought that was amazing. And so sewing was really in the blood. We came from Union City, New Jersey, which is the embroidery capital of the world. That's where all the factories were. So all these relatives and people I grew up with worked in this industry. My mom had the sewing machine that like popped into a table, like, which I'm sure a lot of you had. And then I started my embroidery company. My grandmother passed in the early 90s, and I started my company maybe a year later. So she really never got to see it. And that first company was more design in New York and stuff like that. But when I started Anita Goodesign, it was 2004. She had been gone about 10 years already. And I said, I'm going to name this company after my grandmother, and it's going to be Anita. And it's going to be, her last name was Peroni. I mean, it doesn't really have quite the ring to it. So it became a play on words. So it was Anita Goodesign, or I need a good design. And so that wasn't her last name. It would be amazing if it was. But there really was an Anita, and in our 10-year anniversary book, which I think came out almost like 10 years ago, 9 years ago, there's a whole feature written about Anita and kind of what she did. But yeah, it's kind of cool.
We love our name, and we love being able to bring some.
But some people don't
pride
get
to
it.
Anita.
Honestly, some people don't get it. And they're like, oh, now I got it. Like they've been a customer for years and they're like, oh, I need a good design. Right. Yeah. So it's still kind of fun. Yeah. Almost 20 years later.
It is a great fun name. So let's wrap up with a final question more about you and your creative process.
Yeah.
So what do you enjoy most about the creative process when you're creating something for embroidery or painting or whatever your heart desires that day?
I mean, that's a big part of it. I think the creative process is different based on, I'm more of like project-based creative. So I could just think of random ideas and, I'll write those down and, or I'll see something somewhere and go, oh, that would be cool to do whatever with. But like, as my career is now into, it's like, I don't know, third decade, well into it. It's almost like, what am I designing for? If it's going to be for an art piece, I look at things differently. If it's going to be for a collection for Anita, I'd say, okay, well, here's an idea for, whatever, flowers. Well, how many flowers do I want to do? And that's a lot of times with Anita, that's the problem. And sometimes I'll think of an idea, but maybe it's single design. So you'll see with the new website that a lot of those things will be channeled differently because sometimes a great idea doesn't have to have 20 designs. And, but that's generally how it works. It's like, okay, we're doing Americana. How many ideas do we have? Will that turn into a large collection or a signature series? Or is this like a single design? Or is it just really weird? And at that point, maybe it's an art piece. So that's every time it's a challenge. So if you said, okay, I need you to design something for a collaboration with, I don't know, make something up, Hershey, which I'm not doing, but it would be amazing. They're saying, all right, you're going to do a collaboration with Hershey. And it's like, okay, I could envision this, this, and this. And that's kind of how it develops. But that wouldn't be the same ideas I would have if we're doing an Anita collection or a studio piece. So I love when people send me ideas and it can turn into something. And most of the time it's not what they thought it would turn into, which is the coolest part about it. But most of the time I have no idea what I'm going to do. So I truly start a project almost as a blank slate as, okay, you're going to do an equestrian thing with a giant horse, which is what I have to do right now. It's like a 48-inch horse embroidered. So that's 4 feet. Obviously there's no 4-foot hoop. So it's like, all right, how am I going to do this horse so it looks amazing? It'll probably be really expensive. I'll show it to you when I get working on it. But that's like the challenge. The challenge is usually like, well, how can I do this thing? And how long is that thing going to take? Because as you know, anybody here that stitched anything, well, it takes a long time to stitch a design, that's like that big. All right, well then how are you doing it when it's 4 feet wide? So like, what does that entail? Sort of like a quilt, but even different because it's one design that's 4 feet, not like lots of designs stitched together. So the process is different. And it's always like a road less traveled. Like I have no idea what's going to take. And it's lots of experimenting and having fun. Sort of, it's like fun, but like stressful fun. I don't know. It's not like, oh, we're going to, blow balloons up and we're trying things. I mean, I understand like time is money and all my assistants that are helping me and everybody that runs designs, they're all getting paid, whether the design works, whether it doesn't, whether it comes out as a collection or whether it gets thrown in the garbage. All these people in this organization, which is, 40 of them, all get paid every day. So it's like, that's the complicated part about creativity. Is like, I can think of an idea and plan it, but like all these people have to help make it happen. So you really have to do a lot of editing, like in your own head first to see if it's worth it or if people are going to really like it.
It's hard to be a creative and a business owner at the same time.
It sure is. I would much rather create like using somebody else's money. Absolutely.
Wouldn't we all?
Right. I wish, but yeah, that's not the case. And those circumstances, that's what the next phase I'm hoping will be. Somebody goes, create some stuff for us. And here's like no budget, unlimited, write yourself whatever check you want. I'm still waiting for that phone call.
There you go, guys. Whoever's the first one to give Steven the unlimited budget
Unlimited budget.
gets to be
We'll do
star
something
student.
like you've never seen before. No, but that's the creative process. And again, we got a lot of questions last week after the session that we kind of keep. So if you're watching this later and you have a question, we do monitor the feed, and we'll be glad to answer them all. The questions have all been amazing so far. Maybe next week we'll go a little longer. I don't know, whatever. Yeah. I can keep going.
Perfect. Well, I think that was great for today. And thank you all so much for joining us. And like Steve said, keep adding your questions below and later on in the comments as well. And we are looking forward to talking again next week.
All right, y'all. Have a great week.